Welcome to the Authorpreneur Podcast, where we talk to authors and business owners about how they are using books to market themselves and their businesses. I'm your host, Chris Green, and in each episode of the Authorpreneur Podcast, we talk to a successful author and business owner to see exactly how they are using their books and author status to grow their businesses and serve their customers. We'll talk about what's working, the benefits of becoming a published author, and we may even come up with some creative new marketing strategies. In this episode of the Authorpreneur Podcast, I talk with Kevin Kartchner, author of Talk is Cheap, The Fight Against Mediocrity. Kevin is a professional unicyclist ranked second in North America and fourth in the world. He holds a BA in accounting and a master of real estate development. He has always been ambitious, but his ambition was just surface level until he had a life-changing experience in Mexico that taught him the true secret to turning his ambition into results. Since then, he has dedicated thousands of hours to becoming an expert on how to defeat mediocrity and achieve true potential. At age 28, Kevin left his comfortable corporate job to start his own company, The Fight Against Mediocrity, dedicated to helping people achieve a six-figure economy. Kevin's book is available on Amazon, and I really think you're going to enjoy this episode.
I actually have two books, but one is like a hybrid book planner. And I don't talk about it a lot because I just use it for clients, but it's called the Accomplish Anything Blueprint. And
nice.
It's a, like the first 90 pages is, the mindset around setting goals. And then the last part of it is like actually a planner. And I'm getting it printed right now in like a nice leather bound book. But anyway, so the Talk is Cheap, The Fight Against Mediocrity is my first book. And I really wrote it not even with I wrote it when I had a 9-to-5. And so, and part of the reason I wrote that book when I had a 9-to-5 is because it was a kind of a complacent environment. Not that they weren't really good people, but it was just like kind of complacent, some negativity and stuff. And so the Fight Against Mediocrity really resonated with me at the time. And it was when I was writing my book, I had some people ask me for sales advice. And I was like, I've never really done that before, but sure. I've been in sales for the last few years. I'm the director of sales right now, and it helped them a lot. And so then that's when the idea sparked to like, maybe I could do this, full time. And then that's when I'm like, okay, well, let's finish this book up, get it going. And then I quit my job. And the book has been a really cool tool. I mean, I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but like a book is an amazing tool to build a connection with someone. For them to be like, hey, I want more of this. So
You find it's kind of like an 80-20 thing. Like if you had 100 people who get your book in their hands, 20 of them are like, I need more. I want to work with your company. I want to connect with you somehow.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the 80 of them probably, as sad as it sounds, probably don't even open it or maybe read the first chapter. But yeah, those that read it and are the right fit are like, yeah, I want more.
Yeah. No, the 80-20 pops up everywhere. Have you read the book 80-20 Marketing?
I'm actually listening to it right now.
Wow.
That's fun. Isn't it by Marshall Perry?
Maybe.
Is that a different one?
I mean, there's several 80-20s out there.
Okay.
So the one for marketing, I mean, the biggest takeaway for me is just realizing, and this might be in several of the books, if you have the 80-20, out of that 20, there is an 80-20 of that 20, right? So if you have 1,000 people, you get your book in 1,000 people's hands and 200 people want more, they join your email list. Then out of that 200, 20% of those people, so 40 people are going to want to buy your course. And out of those 40 people, 20% of those, 8 people are going to want one-on-one coaching or whatever the value ladder might be in a business. And they use the example of Starbucks, so why they sell a $5,000 cappuccino maker in Starbucks when their average price point is $5. Like, who the heck is coming in and spending that? Well, if enough people come in, there's going to be someone who says, look, I want the most expensive thing that you have because I'm going to a wedding or whatever it might be. And I think they did a graph of all the products at Apple. And like, you can walk into Apple and buy something for $10. You can walk out with 10,000, and they have the perfect line graph, as much money as you want to spend. But because if you don't have those products and someone comes in wanting a $10,000 computer, you can't sell it unless you have it. So it made me kind of rethink about like, okay, how do I find like, my perfect customer who wants, my either a higher ticket offer or my most personalized service versus the people who don't. And that's the whole epiphany out of it.
Yeah. And I mean, you work a lot with this stuff. So how have you found, what are the best ways to get books into potential customers' hands? What have you found to be most successful?
I feel like I must have like sent you $20 on PayPal to like set me up with this big softball question. That's where I go, because different authors do have different goals for their books, but a lot of marketers or they have a business, they want to get their book in people's hands, as many people's hands as possible for the lowest total cost as possible. They're not looking to spend $20 to get their book in someone's hands. But if you want to get your book in people's hands, first you have to have a book. So I help people get over all the objections of it takes too long, I'm not good enough, it's going to be too expensive. Like, no, it's free. It can be done really quickly. And yes, please give yourself some credit for having some experience in your field. Let's get your book done. And then once it's on Amazon, which gives you published author status, which it used to be you had to be in Barnes & Noble to have published author status like 15, 20 years ago. If you're on Amazon, people are like, what, Amazon? That's not real. That's not real. That's not a real bookstore. But now no one even knows where the closest Barnes & Noble is. And if you're on Amazon, you are by default a published author. So you get those benefits. Now, I always tell people your book has to actually be good. Okay, you can't write garbage and try to claim published author status and take the shortcut. But then once you're on Amazon, Kindle and paperback, getting your Kindle book in people's hands, I don't think you've made your book free. Your book has been 99 cents for 788 days. Did you know you can look up all this information?
My Kindle version.
Kindle version, 414 days. And it's been 99 cents every single day. So one thing you can do, since your book's already 99 cents, I don't know if you knew, you can buy your own copies of your book and then give them away.
Author copies?
No, different from author copies. So this is your Kindle book. So just straight up on the site, people don't see it because it's kind of below the buy box. But I can say buy for others. So I can say, okay, give me buy for others.
Oh, cool.
And you could buy 999 copies if you want. Now you can just, if you have an email list or client list, put in their email address and Amazon will send out redemption links that you pay for, so they get it for free. Or you choose that second option if you're looking at it right now, where it says we'll give you redemption links. And then you're going to get an Excel spreadsheet and you can see when they're redeemed. So if they're not redeemed, like, you can give it to somebody else or you can remind them. So there's no waste. Like within 60 days, you can actually return them. So you say, hey, join my email list, or hey, you're on the stage. Hey, everybody here, I'm happy to give you a free copy of my book on Kindle. And that's, in my opinion, just so much more valuable than, hey, join my email list and I'll give you a downloadable PDF. Like, I don't know, people don't get excited about that as much as, hey, I will give you a literal Amazon product that will show up in your Kindle app, right? Like a little elevated status of like, wait, this is like for real. Now your book's always been 99 cents. What you can do is put it at lower the price 99 cents to buy all your copies, and then put the price back up at $9.99. So now you're giving away a $10 product anchored on Amazon. They see that and they're like, oh man, Kevin just gave away like $210. That's like $2,000 worth of books. And you can say that 200 people at the event. Be like, hey everybody, you're all getting my $10 Kindle book, $2,000 out of my pocket. But you know what? I just love you guys so much. That's exactly what you're doing. However, because you're the author and you're using this strategy, it only costs you $200 to get those 200 links, and 100 people aren't going to redeem them anyway. So you can redeem them to somebody else. So that gets your book in people's hands. And of course, before that, I recommend people structure their book to where they benefit even if they give it away, right? So first 5 pages has some incentive to join your email list, or join an online community, or follow you on social media, have some kind of way to connect with them. So if they get your book for free. And then every time you go on a podcast, you can say, hey, everybody that's listening to this, I'll give you a free copy of the Kindle book. Just, go to my website. Let me know which podcast you heard it on. And you're leveraging the retail price versus your author cost price. And then, of course, you can offer a discounted version on the paperback, fulfill it with author copies. Have you ever done a single author copy order to somebody?
I've ordered author copies like in bulk for me, but you're saying order one for someone else?
Yeah, if you want to send one to Nick, just go into author copies, order one, puts it in your Amazon cart, put in Nick's address. They're going to charge you $3.59 plus your 227 pages. So your book probably costs like $260, $270 or something. So for about $7, you can have Amazon ship your book without you doing anything. You don't even leave the house to Nick. And when I told this to Nick, he like almost freaked out. Because I said, Amazon boxes or Amazon packages have a 100% open rate. And he was like, whoa, you're right. We can send people stuff. I'm like, did you just now think of this? Of course we can send people stuff. Like, and I love that it goes in an Amazon package. I would rather be in an Amazon package than like a post office, like priority mail envelope or something.
Yeah,
Amazon packages get open, right? 100% of the time. And it can be your book on the inside, or your book and someone else's book, or your book and a pack of your favorite pens that you love writing with, or your favorite barbecue sauce because you're trying to connect, with a restaurant to sell your restaurant marketing service. There are so many creative ways to leverage author status and Amazon and fulfillment. Like, the marketer in me just like Nick tells me to like shut up sometimes. He's like, dude, we gotta like focus. We can't have too many marketing ideas. We can't do all of them. Let's find the best ones.
Yeah,
And,
that's true. Well, do you with that? I mean, two questions. What have you found most successful in the actual book? Because right now in my book, I have at the end of each chapter, it's, hey, if you want the action guide, go to the resources page, enter your email, and I'll send you, a PDF and all that stuff. And honestly, I don't think it works very well. What have you found to work most successful with having people opt into an email list?
But so if I'm going to give away the Kindle, I definitely want their email address first, right? Like,
Okay.
I'm not trying to just give away links, so some kind of landing page with some kind of incentive, like your email list, you're going to get the Kindle version, or you're going to get, I love the fact that you have this like kind of supplemental guide. It's just digital, or is that the guide that you just held out?
Just digital. Yeah.
So you could, how many pages is it?
This one?
Well, the supplement thing that you offer.
The supplemental, it's like 20 pages.
So you could stretch that into a printed book, right? Maybe print it 8.5 by 11, but then put it on Amazon as like $24.95, right? So like you put a little higher price on it and say, hey guys, if you get here, I will give you the downloadable version. You can print it yourself. If you would like Amazon to print it for you, here's the link to Amazon, or get it half off from me. And then like a 24-page. If you, I mean, you can stretch it to 30, I'm sure. That'll cost you like $2.30 plus the $3.59 to fulfill. So like under $6. So you could offer a half off, 50% off coupon, and you'll still make $5 on the order. And the goal isn't obviously to make $5 at a time, but to get more of your content, into their hands, have them get their credit card out to where now they're a paying customer instead of like a never giving you any money customer, and get more of your content into their hands. You now have their address, you have their email, you have all this contact information. So you can follow up with them like, hey, let me know if you like the book, like here's a video about how people are using the workbook or the supplement guide. Start asking for reviews. If you give a verified review, I mean, reviews are touchy. Amazon doesn't want people, bribing for reviews. You can certainly ask for reviews. So I'm trying to find a terms of service compliant way of incentivizing leaving a review. We better not go down that road because I don't want to get anybody's account in trouble. But the more reviews you have, because of the 5-star reviews, every 5-star review you have on Amazon, you can take a screenshot of and use for marketing on like on Instagram, as well as if you gave away or if you made your book free, like for 5 days. Or you do, if you're in KDP Select, you can make your book free for up to 5 days every 90 days, either as a block or 1 day at a time. So it's your birthday. Say, hey, it's my birthday, guys. Gifts for you. Go to Amazon, get my book for free. Even though it's free downloads, and even though a lot of those people may not actually read it, you're going to go up in sales rank charts. You'll be at the top of your category. And then you take a picture, and you're number 1, and Gary V is number 2. So you tweet at Gary V. Be like, hey, Gary, I don't know what's going on, but I'm outselling your book. Just saying. It's kind of like a nice little like friendly jab instead of a mean-spirited jab. Because yes, Gary V is going to outsell all of us, and 99% of the time he's going to be outranking you. However, for this 10-minute window, when I gave my book away for free on my birthday, I was outselling Russell Brunson and Gary V and Seth Godin or whatever authors are in your category, and then you take screenshots and you leverage those things. And then it's just kind of like an upward spiral, because a lot of times if you're at the top of the sales charts, people will say like, oh, this book must be really good and popular, so they'll buy it and keep it at the top. Yeah, there's just a lot of like fun kind of marketing things that you can do. And then, any events that you do, either host yourself or you go to events, you're using your book, to establish authority in your niche, as well as, how can I get this book into people's hands? It's just fun. It's fun to be it's fun to be an author marketer, I would say.
I can tell this is like your unique ability. You love this. It's fun. What have you, I know you probably have some questions for me, but I'm curious. You mentioned for a second, hey, when someone does opt in and get your book, start sending them emails about this. What is your like short term? Hey, once they opt in, these are the emails you need to send them. And then long term, as you continue to build a relationship with them, continue to send this type of email.
It's going to be different for everybody. I have generally not been great at keeping my list warm. But keeping your list warm, like emailing them enough that like they're familiar with it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, they email them out of the blue, especially if it's an out of the blue offer. You're like, oh, wait
Yeah.
a minute, they're just trying to sell me something. So I do recommend like clients like keep your list warm, email them like once a week at least. But again, even that depends. I know a real estate agent who was emailing like real estate memes every single day. I was like, bro, you got to like slow this down. All right. Like nobody needs to be reminded about their real estate agent every single day, because I don't need a real estate agent every single day.
Yeah.
Maybe once a week if your emails are like actually funny. Maybe once a month. That's why like the real estate agents all have fridge magnets, right? Like, you just want to
Yeah.
keep them top of mind for when you need one. Not I need to think about a real estate agent every single day. And there are other things where you do need to email every day, depending on what you're doing. But it's like keeping people warm, as well as, okay, hey, we have an event coming up, so early bird special, tickets, last chance, these are the bonuses that you're going to get, and all those types of things. If you're actually selling like a one time, or maybe you only do it twice a year type offer, versus have at the bottom of every kind of content marketing email, it has, if you want more, or like a 15-minute consultation, here's our Calendly link, you can sign up. It's just whatever each business is trying to do. Whether they're using their book specifically for that, either to get the leads or get people on your email list to sell a book. I know I bounce around a lot, but there's a huge opportunity, in my opinion, for expensive books. A $250 book. And what do you get with that book, right? Do you get 2 1-hour phone calls with Kevin? Like, what? You can put that in a book? I'm like, you absolutely can put that in a book. How do you redeem it? Here's the website. Now what? Well, you have to put in a screenshot of your purchase. And all of a sudden you can look and be like, dude, no one purchased this book. So like don't mess with me. And say, in all honesty, I did this when I launched Online Arbitrage. It was a course. It was a $300 book when it came out in 2014. And I included a 1-hour phone call. And everybody that redeemed their phone call, I checked their receipt. And I like made sure like nobody even tried. There was one old lady who accidentally bought a used copy, because I said you have to buy a new copy, so I actually got a royalty. One old lady bought a used copy. She didn't know. I gave her a phone call anyway. But I put so much effort and work into making sure nobody got a free phone call for scamming. I would have done better if I like took 5 fake phone calls than to spend all this time. So I say that as like, sell a $300 book, include a phone call, whatever it might be. Because now you have a $300 anchored price product on Amazon that you can give. So from the stage, be like, hey guys, I'm giving away 5 of my $300 books. 5 of you guys are going to get this book. You can sell it on Amazon if you want. You can sell it on eBay. You can sell it to someone else here at this conference. But you probably won't want to, because this includes a personal one-on-one phone call with me. And you can't get that anywhere else. Go to my website. It's just, the marketer in me is just like, there's so many ways to leverage the fact that you can create price anchored products on Amazon through self-publishing, right? They're books. However, it's just paper. But what can you put on the paper? What can people redeem? What can people download? What can people get access to if they have these pieces of paper? And that's where like my mind goes of like, private communities, masterminds, Discord servers, Facebook groups, just access to you. Now, I feel like this is your podcast. We're like,
no, I mean, I'm eating this up. I think that's really, really smart. I think that's really cool. I mean, books are such a fun, powerful tool. I have a mastermind of, 15 people in my highest level mastermind. And dude, trying to convince them to start a podcast and write a book is, for whatever reason, really difficult, because I mean, it does take work to do both of them, but I feel like those are some of the highest leverage activities, is writing a book and starting a podcast. And like you said, I think writing a book is more daunting than it is work. It takes time, it takes effort, but it's totally worth it. Number one, for like getting your ideas out on paper, the credibility that it brings as well. I mean, it's tough to build credibility like a book can build credibility. And then, I think it's such a cool opportunity.
I predict we're going to go on a couple rants, like in a good way, because I saw some of your rants. You actually had a whole podcast episode. It was a short episode, but it was a rant episode, where you've probably seen a lot of the similar things that I've seen. I've been kind of helping people with Amazon, whether it's Seller Central or selling products and wholesale, all that stuff, as well as the self-publishing stuff and print on demand. And I see people looking for shortcuts, and there really aren't shortcuts. However, I will say that publishing a book is something you can do to fast track, networking opportunities, to fast track, establishing yourself as an authority in a specific niche. Given that your book has to actually be good, don't get ChatGPT to write you some garbage book and then think you're
Yeah.
going to really cash in on published author status. No, that's not going to happen. But it can be done a lot faster than people think. And feel free to steal this and talk to your mastermind clients who are like, oh, I can't write a book. It's going to take too long. Because like there's some truth in that. Like it did used to take a long time. And it was a lot harder than it used to be. And it used to cost a lot of money if you wanted to do that. And you did used to need an editor and an agent and all this stuff. But now, if you had to write the top 10 things you should know before starting your first sales job, I guess you could write that in an afternoon, right? It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be the greatest book ever. If someone says, actually, in my opinion, these are some 2 things that Kevin missed. Great. I'm glad you have an opinion and you actually have 12 things. I only wrote 10 things. Like none of that matters. You're not writing the end all book about sales. You're writing, this is Kevin's opinion on the 10 things you should know before you start a sales job at a company. And now you have a book. Now it might not be your flagship book. It might not be the last book you ever write, but you have it and you go through the process. So you're like, oh, I understand this. This ad actually wasn't that hard. Like, Kevin told the truth. It wasn't that hard to publish my book. I'm like, yeah, like we're not making this stuff up. And then they see it, and now they're on board. They're like, oh my gosh, I see how like my friends and my neighbors are like, dang, you wrote a book. You must be like really smart. And they see this published author status that they're able to leverage. And again, you have to have actual good book and good content and good information, but you can use that to start your business. Like, who's not going to download your free Kindle link, when you send it out on social media? And then who's not going to join your email list because that's like on page 5 is join my email list. And you're going to get my supplement guide download. And that's how you start. You start with the one book and you start with one subscriber and one giveaway. And once people see that, they're like, oh, now I see why Kevin was like, oh, just write a book and a podcast and then everything's going to work out. And then they believe you about the book and they'll believe you about the podcast. But you have to help people over these hurdles because they're legit. I understand why people have these objections. They have to see it for themselves. And once they see it, they're off to the races kind of thing.
Yeah, totally.
I'll just throw this out there. If you want to do like a call with your mastermind and just talk self-publishing, I am all in. You can probably tell. I like talking about this stuff.
Oh yeah. No, I can tell this is your jam.
So does you end up ranting at your mastermind a little bit over some of this stuff? Like, are people looking for shortcuts? Like, the people who join your mastermind, like what are they looking for? What's the big thing that they get by joining your mastermind?
Yeah, the mastermind that I have right now, it's called the Maestro Mastermind because the whole goal is mastery around whatever you're doing. We're looking to become experts and masters in our fields. And it's a year long. We do a couple of in-person retreats. They get access to me. I bring on what I call Titans of Industry calls. So I'll bring on people who they probably wouldn't be able to get access to otherwise. And I bring them on a call. They get to ask them a question. Last year we had Russell Brunson, which was really hard to get him on.
Yeah, he's not cheap.
Yeah, he's not cheap. He's not easy to access, but that one was really fun. Steve Siebold was on one who wrote, he's a really popular for his book, 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class. Anyways, so that's the mastermind. And yeah, I mean, I've been almost all of I have calls where I teach them, hey, this is what you do to start a podcast. This is how you ask people to get on. This is how you have someone edit it. This is how you post it. All for the real purpose of a podcast has just changed my business in the sense of networking, like even this opportunity to network with you. And people aren't as apt to be like, hey, can I pick your brain for 15 minutes? But if you say, hey, can I have you on my podcast? They're like, oh yeah, let's do it. Like, I'd love to. And so you get to ask these amazing people questions who you otherwise wouldn't have access to. And then you're friends with them. And so I think that's just huge. And then my book, I'm not at this point, the goal with a book isn't to sell 1 million copies, although that'd be amazing. The goal is to get into the hands of a potential customer and then have them read it and be like, hey, I want to learn more. I want to do this. And I've had, sales calls where I'll hop on and they'll be like, yeah, I read your book. I want to join whatever you have. I don't care what it costs. Like, well, let's do it. That doesn't happen every time, but the times it happens, I'm like, man, I'm really glad I wrote a book. So
I think people should take that as a perfect example, because I work with a lot of people who end up, they want these guarantees, right? Like, well, Chris, you want me to write this book? But like, it's going to take this many hours and I'm going to get paid $0 an hour to do that. I'm like, yeah, I guess. But like, I said this to Nick and he really liked this kind of quote. Like, a book is just a book. But when it's your book, it's an asset. Right? It's an asset in your business that you can use and you can leverage. And when people want these guarantees, like, I guarantee no one's going to join your mastermind if you don't have a book that you can get, you don't make that connection. So if you want a guarantee, there's your guarantee, right? But I also can't guarantee that if you write this book, these things will happen. But they definitely won't happen if you don't write the book. So you have to, whether it's writing a book or starting a podcast or whatever it is, you have to put in some kind of effort to move forward without the guarantee. Like, have a little trust or faith or whatever people want to call it of, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. And if I had to give like a conclusion of why this happens, is so many people are kind of brought up. And I say this as someone who's had like the typical, corporate 9-to-5 type job, is we're almost trained to like, hey, if you come in to this building for this many hours and do these tasks, I will give you this much money. Like, it's a guarantee kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you go to start your own business or become an entrepreneur or an author or whatever it is, you don't have those guarantees. Like, no,
Zero.
nothing. Like, it could all fall apart. You could work for hundreds of hours for free. But I think it's better to do that than not, right? I'm not saying everybody should quit their job and try to write a book right away. But instead of watching TV and all this, playing too much video games, it's investing in yourself, right? Like, yes, you're working for $0 an hour, but you're working for yourself for $0 an hour. You're going to learn things, and you're going to learn what works, and you're going to learn what doesn't work, and you're going to stop doing the things that don't work, and you do more of the things that do work. And you're going to see, wait a minute, Chris was right. Just like Kevin said, this guy read my book and said, I don't care what it costs. I'm in. That won't happen. You'll never put yourself in that position if you don't, put the time in and write the book and do the things that most people are not willing to do. Because most people they're not willing to work for $0 an hour for hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
It's just the reality of it.
I think to your point, if I were writing my book, I would be curious actually on your opinion. My opinion with writing a book is, if you're writing a book just for the money, I don't think that's the right motive. I think there is money. Like, I can track in the last 2 years over $100,000 directly back to my book, which is amazing. However, I didn't write my book saying it's only a success if I make that much money. I wrote my book saying I believe in this so much that I don't want to be the only one who knows it. I want to share this message with as many people as possible. And so when I would wake up early in the morning and be like, hey, I got to write my 500 words today, it wasn't, oh man, is this really going to make me money? It was the fire inside of me of like, I want to share this message. And I feel like if someone writes a book with that fire of, I believe in this so much, I want to share this message, then you push through those hard moments and writing it.
No, you've got a perfect kind of summation of it, because you're exactly right. People should not be writing books thinking they're going to make money, especially with royalties, right? Like, I actually looked on my account. I think I'm up to 120,000 books through my KDP account. That's digital, that's physical, that's paid, that's free, which is way higher than I ever would have thought, because I wrote my first book in 2011. It wasn't even called KDP back then. And it was a long PDF that I wrote because we made FBA software. You know what FBA is when I say that for Amazon?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was one of the first FBA sellers on Amazon. Wow. We made the first FBA software at the time, right when, iPhone and 4G finally came out, and it made like scanning products to resell like doable in like live. So we're super early on this. So everybody was coming to us for information, like, what is FBA? Like, should I use it? Why should I use it? So all these questions, answering the same over and over and over again. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna write a really long PDF. I answer all these questions thoroughly, in depth. And then it was like 350 pages. It was kind of like laid out in chapters. And I was like, I wonder what it takes to like publish a book. And I stumble onto self-publishing through Amazon. It's very easy. So I upload it. And now, whoa, everybody's treating me like I'm hot stuff. Like, whoa, this guy wrote a book. And I remember thinking back then, oh, this is not good, because I should not be getting this kind of like flattery, because the book's not terribly well written. I'm not an English major. I'm not known for being a writer. It was actually really easy, guys. It didn't cost any money. I just uploaded it. It's full of typos, but it didn't matter. Everybody was like, you're a published author. Like, can you come speak at our event and be the keynote speaker? And sure, but like, I'm just a regular guy. But okay, I'll take it. But I thought it would get ruined because now that it's easy, everybody's going to do it. Everybody's going to be a published author. And it's like in The Incredibles, like when everyone's super, then no one is. And I was really worried about it back then. Here we are, 10 years later, 14 years later, almost 14 years later. No, I was completely wrong. Published author status is more powerful today than it was back then. It's just hard enough that most people are not going to do it. And it's just the way people see authors. So they say, oh, you've published a book, you must be an expert in your field. Which, again, I work with people who are like, they actually make good quality products. Like, so there is no shortcut to this of like getting ChatGPT to write you a book and then you're off to the races. No, don't do that. But you can leverage these things. I went off track a little bit because you were asking my opinion on something, and I forgot what what opinion you were asking for.
No, I think we kind of covered it. It was about the emails. I think was the emails. Maybe that was the last. I think that was the last question I asked.
Yeah. Well, there's just so many benefits to having a book, and I do try to help people get over this shortcut mentality, which I know you ranted on a little bit. But yeah, before I go down that road, do you have any plans of writing a book about unicycling, or is that just that's like nope, that's my jam, and I'm not looking to to go down that road?
You know, I would be lying if I said I hadn't thought about it, because I'm like, it'd be fun to like, you know, even like a YouTube channel about like, hey, here's how to land this trick and here's how to do this and stuff like that. And I definitely, that's one of the things that I would like to just do more, is just go outside and ride without getting hurt like I used to. But for now, probably not. My next book that I'm toying between. So I have, you know, my planner, the Accomplish Anything Blueprint, which I haven't put on Amazon. And I mean, you probably have an opinion, but I'm kind of trying to make it more exclusive of like, you can only get it inside of my programs. And, you know, maybe to your point, I could make it $500 on Amazon. But my book, Talk is Cheap to Fight Against Mediocrity. And then I want to write a book called The Non-Negotiables. It's something that I teach in my program a lot, that I'd love to write a book. And I'm toying between the idea of, okay, do I write that book or do I just do version 2 of the Fight Against Mediocrity and add that to it? So I go back and forth.
Well, Amazon doesn't really want you changing a book more than like 10% at a time. So if you had kind of a 2.0 version of the Fight Against Mediocrity book, you might want to create a completely new listing for it. It wouldn't be too bad. I mean, you got 20 ratings, so it's not like you would lose thousands of ratings or anything. So you could launch a new one. Make this like an exclusive. Like you could almost take it down, and then people could see it like, oh man, where can I get like the original like first copy, first edition kind of thing. But you are right. You can make things exclusive and make them exclusive by making them expensive. Hey, you can buy it on Amazon for $250, which is the current highest price for a print book, unless you go through Seller Central. So there are ways around it. You can sell books for $1,000 if you wanted to. The old way, before it became KDP, you could price your book at $2.99. I had plans to publish a book for that price just to have it out there, and then like lower price and buy a couple copies and then put the price back up so that sales rank would go up, and people would be like, what the? People are actually buying this book for $3,000? But, of course that's manipulating the price, and I never actually did it. But I'm a little disappointed that KDP took away that max price, because that would have been fun to play with. Like, hey, you want to come to my event? You want to be the VIP tickets? The next 10 people that buy the $3,000 copy of the book on Amazon get into the event, get the VIP dinner, whatever else you want to offer. And just now you're outsourcing almost the payment processing of like, Amazon's going to handle the $3,000 transaction. They get the book, and anybody that actually shells out $3,000 for a book, I really don't think is trying to scam. And even if they do return it, did you know that royalties are non-refundable through Amazon?
Oh, really?
Currently non-refundable. I don't want to go down too many rabbit holes, but yeah, because Amazon if they take a return, they don't take your royalty back, but they will sell your book used, and you don't get royalty for that if someone buys the used copy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it does even out. Amazon does have another print-on-demand platform called Merch by Amazon. Actually, it's called Amazon Merch on Demand now. So it's T-shirts, hoodies. It's completely free, right? So, like, write this one down if it sounds interesting. Merch.amazon.com. So you can put your logo, your company logo, whatever you want on a T-shirt, and it's available for sale. Prime eligible, men's, women's, youth sizes, every color you can imagine. Again, completely free. It's all print on demand. When someone orders it, they print it, ship it, give you a royalty, or a zero royalty if you just want to have a low cost option. But people were buying their own T-shirts, getting the royalties, and then returning the T-shirts to Amazon for a full refund, and like printing money kind of thing. And of course, Amazon shut that down because it used to be they didn't care. Like, 2% return on your T-shirts, no one cares. Amazon just shreds it and moves on. But then, of course, someone had to abuse it. So they changed that. That hasn't happened in KDP yet. So there's still that option. Yeah, this is like the last 1 to 5% knowledge about self-publishing in KDP that people don't know. Because self-publishing is not hard, right? 2 files, upload it, you're good to go.
It's cool about everything that you're telling me right now. What's fascinating to me is like just knowing that you've spent the last 14 years or over a decade learning about this. And that's what makes you a master. Like you just said, the last 1 to 4% that most people will never figure out because they just don't spend enough time to figure it out. And that's in any industry. Like you have to spend a lot of time in it to get that last 1 to 4%.
Yeah, it really only comes with time and experience and seeing these outlier things that can really happen. I'll come on your podcast and tell you the story of how I almost got my account banned one time, but it's just not terribly on topic for today. You could definitely. I mean, it's a different thing though. Like I'm assuming like unicycling for you is like a passion thing, right? Like you're not doing it because you're getting sponsorships and all this big money.
Yeah.
To where if you turned it into a personal brand, it might not be fun anymore. If you're like, I got to set up the shot and I gotta land it and I gotta make a guide and I need some illustrations, it might take the joy away from it. Where you're like, no, this isn't fun. I'm one of the best in the world, but it doesn't turn into an actual business. But if I were you, I would use it to get people's attention and lead them into your other business. Be like, who the heck is this guy? Oh, Andy has a business? All right, I'm interested. Because like there's some weird crossover here that even if someone wanted to, they couldn't do. Right? So that's a proprietary advantage that you have.
I'm curious because that's something that several people have told me once they found out I unicycle. So I was professional in extreme unicycling, and I competed in the world championships in Italy, competed in a lot of national championships. And then at one point I was like, I'm not making any money. And it was around when I was in college. I was like, man, this is taking a lot of time. And so I kind of paused it, but I missed it so much. But I didn't want to do the tricks as much because I want to be able to play with my grandkids and stuff and don't want to have like messed up ankles and all that stuff, lots of wear and tear.
Yeah.
And so I was like, how could I keep unicycling without putting my body through all of that? And I figured out that I could do distance unicycling. So I bought a 36-inch wheel and I do triathlons and I do the biking portion on a unicycle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I'm currently training for a half Ironman on May 4th. So I'm doing that, but I obviously don't publish and post about it enough because, you didn't know about it. And so I'm trying to use it for that purpose of like, there's so many voices, so much noise. Unicycling is something that would help me stand out immediately. From your perspective, what would you be like, oh, Kevin, you have to do this, or you should be doing this with unicycling?
Well, the triathlon overlap is huge. I'm actually working with a guy to launch a book and like a course to help people who want to run and train for their first triathlon.
Oh,
and
cool.
this was someone I used to work with 20 years ago. And I've been telling him for a long time, oh my gosh, you should write a book. You should write a book. Because like he's really into it. Like he has like, 50 medals. He's like Ironman certified. Like he's like the real deal in this stuff. But he never had the confidence that like he could write a book. Like he couldn't like take someone's money to like, help them. And so I was like, no, like I'm not that good. And I'm like, how good do you think you need to be? Like I can see your medals, right? Like you're like number one in your age bracket. Like all the external things are there for me to see, but he doesn't see them because I understand people. It can be hard to see yourself as an expert in something.
Yeah,
because
totally.
He's aware of he's aware of his shortcomings. He's aware of what he doesn't know, where a lot of people aren't aware of what they don't know, and that can almost get them in trouble in a sense. So I finally got to him and I said, look, if someone wanted to run their first, train for and participate in their first triathlon, they had questions. Could you answer them? And he was like, well, yeah, of course. I was like, there you go. Now you got it. because you're not trying to write the end all book about triathlons. You're trying to say, look, if you're getting started, these are things you need to know. This is the equipment that you're going to need. These are the things that you don't realize are involved or necessary. And like when I learned about some of this stuff, I was like, oh, you have to like have these like practice runs and like run certain distances, certain times apart. I thought you just like ran all the time. And then when it was race day, you just ran anyway, right? Like, because I just didn't know. And like when he starts to see that, he's like, oh, he forgets how much of an expert he really is. So we're working together to get a book for him launched. It leads into like a coaching program and a mentoring thing, and he'll work with people like on their stroke and all that, like the whole deal.
Yeah.
I think he'll do really well with it. You've got the exact same thing, except you got the differentiation point of like, what? I didn't know you could do it on a unicycle. I didn't like when you said a 36-inch wheel. I was like, I didn't even know they made those. Right? Like I'm thinking like the penny farthing thing of like,
Yeah. No, that's basically what it is. Yeah.
yeah. So you're able to get attention. I mean, if you documented, you don't even need a ton of content around it. But like that's the stuff that Yahoo News would pick up and the local news would pick up, and it would just get shared so much on social media. If you just had like video clips of you going by, everybody else is on their bike, and I'm guessing on their bike they're going to be a lot faster than you are, but you'll still complete it. But no one cares about your time. There's like they don't even care if you finish. To be honest, they would just see the clip and be like, "Look at this guy! I didn't even know you could do that. I didn't know that was a thing." But it's attention. And if you have attention, you can turn that into something. So you have the attention, and it's like, okay, when you get the attention, what is the plan? Is it to get them to go to a website, follow you on social media? Is that something you build a business around of having a book and a course or something like that? It just depends what you want to do. And we live in a world of options, for better or for worse. Where it's like, is there a bigger reward in being this crazy, unicycle triathlon guy, or in sales and marketing? And like, what about my mastermind group? And I just really like publishing books. And, is there a future in that? And you got to pick something, and picking something means not picking all the other things.
Yep.
And I find that's the hard part. It's like, but that looks so much fun.
That's entrepreneurship, the curse of entrepreneurship.
I say that, oh my gosh, all the time, the curse. It's an absolute curse for a lot of people. So I do try to help people realize, like, yeah, you got. I think was it you that said you can't train for like 7 Olympic events at one time?
Yeah. Yep.
It makes sense, and I'm glad you put stuff out like that, and I think there should be more stuff like that because it eventually sinks in with people. Of like,
takes most of them have to experience it until it sinks in, but yeah.
That's the one shortcut. That's one reason there's no shortcuts, is it takes time. Everything takes time. And I thought of this. Tell me if you think this makes any sense. I was sweeping the kitchen floor, and we have a cat dish full of water. So I try to like kind of nudge it out the way, and like, with physics and momentum, like it doesn't move right away. And then when I'm trying to gently move it with my foot, then when it finally moves, it jerks and spills the water. And I'm like, you know what? This is a good analogy, because if I took the time, I could move this really slowly and I won't spill any of it. But there's literally no way for me to move this fast over there. It's not possible. And everybody's trying to go fast, and it's not possible. But if you go slow and you follow the steps, everybody can move that water. Everybody can start a business. Everybody can start a podcast. Everybody can write a book. Like, there really aren't barriers. There's no gatekeepers to doing any of this. Not everybody's going to win, but everybody can play. And if you're good enough to provide value, you don't need to reach 1 million people. You can reach 1,000 people if you have some kind of valuable information that you can either translate into a podcast or a book, communicate with people, help them solve a problem. Very, very doable. And then I think books are like the fast track to the networking and the establishing authority. And just, if people see you have a book on Amazon, they're like, oh, okay, I'm listening. Get some attention. I feel I'm not giving you great advice on what you should actually do. Not that you were asking directly for advice.
No, that's, I mean, I was going to say you could write a book on that. Slower is faster, or something like that.
I'm trying to visualize how I could do this like from the stage. I'm thinking I get like a hot coffee and be like, all right, move it to the other side of the stage in this much time. Like, how fast do you want to make $1 million? And people be like, oh, like, really fast. But then I would say, and I don't know if this would actually translate, but give them a book so they can put the book on top, and now they can move faster. Because I do think the book can accelerate that process. The published author status can accelerate some things. You still probably can't sprint. You can't go as fast as you want. If there's a way to make $1 million by the end of the month, and all it was hard work, there'd be so many people just like not sleeping and just do it. But there's not. It takes time. You have
Yeah.
to give time to connect with people and for people to discover you and people to consume enough of your content that they trust you enough to give you their money. Like the time is that constant factor.
No, I agree. Slower is really faster. I remember when I was working for my dad's company. I was supposed to take it over, but felt like I was supposed to leave. And when I left, one of the pieces of advice he gave me, my dad's extremely, extremely successful in his business. Well, it didn't start out that way, but now is very successful. And he said, Kevin, don't grow too fast. Says that's one of the things that will kill people is they grow too fast. And then I start to look out for advice, and everyone is saying faster, make $100,000 in a month, make like all this stuff, like fast. And I bought into that for a little bit. And then it kind of clicked of like, say you did go from zero, your first business you ever created, $0 to $1 million in 1 month. Everything would break. Everything would break. The systems, the processes, you don't have the team, you would stress out, customers would be unhappy. And so a lot of people say, well, like if I can just make $1 million this month, like I'll be good. But what they don't understand is it'll actually break more than it'll fix. But if you just say, hey, because I'm all about making money and making a lot of money, but you got to know that, hey, what if I spread this out and I really get the foundation where it needs to be to then build that, $1 million a month and sustain it over time. I think that's where it's just, being patient in the journey and enjoying that journey and enjoying the part where you're not on the top of the hill. And that's why there's the hockey stick growth. Like nobody knows you for 10 years and then all of a sudden hockey stick, everyone knows you.
There's a lot of that. I don't know if we could get people to like really buy into the hockey stick until you see it, until you experience it, and you're like, oh yeah, because people see a lot of things on social media, and I'm guilty of it, where I'll see something and I'll be like, oh, that's easy. Oh, we should do that. Like that, all they're doing is X, Y, and Z, but you don't see the behind the scenes. You don't see what led up to it. You don't see the time spent and the connections and just you don't see the years of nobody watching what they were doing, but they stuck with it. And even when I know this, my brain will still go down that road really quick of seeing something like, oh, we could do that. We could do that. Like, stop. And Nick is good at that. I'll send him messages and be like, hey, you know what we should do? He's like, yes, maybe we'll do that one day. However, not yet.
Yeah.
Slow down. Let's get really good at this first.
A phrase that I really liked that I learned, can't remember who told me it, but they said, that's a really good idea for someone else.
That's why you should give your ideas away. Like, because if someone else takes your idea, a lot of times they're going to come back and be like, I heard this on Kevin's podcast, and they might come back and give you credit. They might, you never know what's going to happen, but you weren't going to do anything with it anyway. So relax. I need to do that I have like 250 domains, and every domain has a plan, right? I'm not like a squatter domain guy. I'm not every domain that I have is like, you know what? We could write a book about this, and here's the domain for it. And you know what? I'm just going to put that. I used to call them cheap bets because they're like $10 a year. But then when you have 250 of them, it's like, well, that's like $2,500 a year. It starts to add up a little bit. And also, you can't do all of them, right? So just admit you're never going to get around to that. So I'm getting better at letting some expire. And I'm trying to think of a way of like giving them away, of like having a business list. Be like, guys, this is why I registered this domain. If you're interested in this, please, like you can have it. Like I'm not even just trying to sell them. Like you can have it, but it would make me feel better if someone like kind of pursued it. Even though honestly, it doesn't matter. I should just let them expire and just focus on the ones that like authorpreneur.com, which is my favorite domain that I have. Authorpreneur. It's in my opinion the best way, the most efficient way for someone to start a business, even if it's super small. Because as an author, it's based on just you. You don't spend any money. And you have the social media and the internet to connect with people and people who want to buy your product. It's on Amazon, a trusted marketplace. They don't have to get your credit card out, put in your sketchy looking website. No, it's Amazon. People trust Amazon. They buy your book. If it's actually good, they sign up. They potentially become a client. Like, and now you're in business. and you don't need to spend money on inventory, and you don't have to, spend money on advertising even. You can just give it away using social media and get started. So I'm glad you're using your book. I finally remember what you were talking about. It's like, your book wasn't, you don't want people to think they're going to make money with royalties from their book. However, like, you're seeing that the book leads to these other things. And, I say that as many times as people will listen. Don't do it for the royalties, because I'll never say never. Maybe someone writes the next, bestseller. However, I think it's very unlikely. Much more likely you're going to use the book to connect with somebody, to start a business, to make some kind of connection. And that's what your book is for. Like, write it for yourself. Write about what you know, just to get it out there into the world and be way okay. I've actually had people like, no, I don't want to give it away because, it's so valuable. I was like, dude, if nobody knows who you are, no one's going to buy it anyway. So be thankful that they download your free book, right? Because there's a lot of, I think like 10,000 books get published every day, right?
Yeah, that's
so, like,
a lot.
There are a lot of options. So if someone buys or downloads your book, be very thankful that they chose yours, because they have a lot of choice. But this hour went by quick. I feel like we can keep talking about books and marketing.
Yeah. I just looked up, man, and it has been an hour. Last time I looked up, it was like 12:30. That's crazy.
I met with Nick yesterday for 2.5 hours, and both of us were like, oh, shoot, we got to get going. We had other things we had to do. I would love to keep talking, but I do have like a hard stop. I have somewhere I have to be by 1:30, and it's 30 minutes away. But I do want to let anybody that wants more information about you and your book and your company, what's the best place for them to find you?
Probably right now the best place would be they can grab section 1 of the Accomplish Anything Blueprint for free. So again, this isn't available anywhere except in my programs. And you can grab it at Accomplish Anything Blueprint, accomplishanythingblueprint.com.
That is a long domain. I don't have a domain that long, but it works.
Fortunately, it's easy to remember, Accomplish Anything Blueprint, but yeah, it is long.
No, and it's a great name for a book. And if anybody just Googles your name, they're going to find you on LinkedIn. They're going to find you on Instagram. They're going to find your conference that is coming up. 69 days from now.
Conference. Yep. Create Your Own Economy. CYOEconference.com. Create Your Own Economy. That's going to be epic. We have some speakers, a lot of authors actually that are going to be there. But we have a few speakers that we haven't announced yet that have done some amazing stuff. And it's always we started this conversation with conferences. They're a lot of work, but I do it because so many lives are changed.
No, they are fun. It's cool to have these bonus speakers coming up. Yeah, this speaker list is really good. And like you said, it's gonna be your last one. So
last one.
Never say never. Maybe you bring it back, but the current plan is that this is the last one. So Salt Lake City, pretty easy place to get into. So yeah, that's coming up in May. I think May in Salt Lake City is kind of nice.
Yep. That'll be nice.
Very cool. Well, Kevin, it was great to connect. Super thankful for Nick for connecting us. I'm sure we will follow up and we will chat again about entrepreneurship and books and publishing, and maybe a little more on the unicycle triathlon crossover. There's huge opportunity there, but it would take time. And time there means time not doing something else. So it's cool to have options, and you got some really cool ways to get attention, to drive people back. Yeah, and I think everybody does. They just have to identify it. So.
You're awesome. It's been really nice to meet you. And yeah, this will not be the last time. I appreciate you.
All right. Sounds good, Kevin. We'll chat again soon. Thanks.
Okay. We'll see you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Authorpreneur Podcast. If you'd like more information about this episode's guest, you can find links to their books, websites, and social media profiles in the show notes and video description. If you're an author or business owner who's interested in learning more about how you can use books and published author status to market and grow your business or personal brand, or if you're an aspiring author looking for more information about the publishing process, you can find more information and request an author audit at authorpreneur.com. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, or if you'd like to recommend someone, please reach out via email to chris@authorpreneur.com. Remember, a book is just a book, but when it's your book, it's an asset. #Authorpreneur.